It's difficult for me to find words to describe how obscene this is on so many different levels. The presidents for each of these schools is asked, does the call for genocide against Jews constitute a violation in your harassment and anti-bullying policy? And each of them fails to answer. Each of them fails to say yes. Every single one of them says it depends. Guys, okay, this is a manifestation of the anti-intellectualism that is rampant in postmodern neo-Marxist ideology. I'm going to reiterate, they fail to confirm, they fail to answer if calling for the genocide of Jews violates their anti-bullying, anti-harassment policies. Okay, harassment is here. Murder's like up here. And genocide compared to murder is like, it's almost off the scale, it's almost incomparable. A hallmark of insanity and ideology is people have to lie to substantiate the tyranny, and that's what happened in the Soviet Union. People had to lie repeatedly. They had to lie about everything, and that's what the woke ideology demands of you, is that you lie about if boys can become girls and if you're oppressed, and about the validity of equality of outcome and many other things. But to substantiate the tyranny, the leftist tyranny, you have to lie.
At MIT, does calling...
This is MIT they're asking about right now.
...for the genocide of Jews violate MIT's code of conduct or rules regarding bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
Targeted at individuals, not making public statements.
What? What the fuck is that? Dude! Oh my gosh, bro. Oh my, you can't make it. Okay, it's not funny. I'm not gonna laugh. I'm just trying to cope with what she said. How's that possible? Look, how's that possible? What did she... Listen to what she just said.
Yes or no?
If targeted at individuals, not making public statements.
Not making public statements for genocide doesn't constitute anti-bullying? This is why we saw this, multiple people from MIT especially coming forward and saying, why is our campus not protecting us? We are literally being discriminated against daily. And that doesn't violate harassment, murder, genocide. And you're saying it doesn't? What the?
Yes or no? Calling for the genocide of Jews does not constitute...
Okay. We're going to be very professional about this. There obviously is a tremendous amount of tension in this room. And I'm going to analyze it because I notice it. There is an anti-authority disgust that these university leaders have for the process that they're being, in their minds, subjected to right now. Much of the hideous slogans, the reprehensible statements against the Jewish people that have brought forth this event are slogans like "from the river to the sea" and other heinous slogans that call for the removing of the Jewish state. The word slogan, by the way, translates to battle cry of the dead, which is very interesting. But because these slogans are heinous and unthinking, it enrages the radical left when you call them out for the incoherence and moral bankruptcy of that which they utter. How dare you confront my incoherent ideology and say that I'm not a good person, much less do both of those things in front of the nation in a seat of power, of authority, which my postmodern neo-Marxist beliefs insist cannot justly exist and merely is a reflection of corruption and perversion. The ethos, the literal ideology that permeates their mind, which is of postmodern neo-Marxism, disputes the notion of just authority in and of itself. And so to be called out from that place while challenging an incoherent ideology with coherence and morality, when postmodernism says there's no such thing as objective morality, infuriates them. And that, I am able to recognize, is the reason why we are getting such incoherent and despicable displays. If it looks like there's a disconnect here, that's because there is. If it looks like they're not able to say genocide is bad, that's because they can't. Because the Marxist ideology literally says there's no such thing as moral truth. This is the byproduct, moral relativist. You thought that you were liberal and compassionate because you're a moral relativist and don't want to discriminate against people because that's oh, that's conservative. We can't possibly, as liberals, discriminate morally and say that some ideas are better than others. This is what happens. This is the byproduct where you can't say genocide is a violation of anti-bullying, of anti-harassment policy. And students at your school feel unsafe to the point where they have to come to the United States Congress. How is that possible? Where students have to go to the Congress to not be discriminated against because of their religion. And then when you're called forward, you're not even going to acknowledge the problem? I have families at both of these schools, at Harvard and at MIT. This is disgusting.
To bullying and harassment?
I have not heard calling for the genocide for Jews on our campus.
But you've heard chants for intifada.
I've heard chants, which can be anti-Semitic depending on the context, when calling for the elimination of
No. The context is the eradication of Israel, which somehow the left adopted after an attack against Israel. I thought the left was supposed to care about the victims, about the people that were being attacked. But not here for some reason. This is how you see. This is how you can recognize the incoherent nature of their victimhood matrix. I'm referencing it because it exists for them, but it is also incoherent. And you're seeing that it's incoherent because they can't distinguish between the Gaza civilians that are being, oppressed by Western colonialization. What a perverse lie that is. And the people that they attack. And it is in conjunction with their moral relativism that they can't even condemn that, and instead are so mentally ravaged that they march in the streets of New York chanting death to the Jews. How's this possible, man? How's this possible? This is the nature of Marxism. That's how it's possible. This is how it ravages the mind.
Jewish people.
So those would not be according to the MIT's code of conduct or rules.
That would be investigated
These people have to be replaced. They have to be fired and replaced. And every single person underneath them that cannot identify calling for genocide as a violation of harassment has to be fired. Oh, and there's another element which I forgot to mention. The fact that conservatives, and I'm going to show you this afterwards. This poor girl from MIT that's testifying in front of Congress about the daily discrimination she faces as a Jewish girl. She's flanked by a bunch of conservative congressmen for support to show that there is solidarity. The left is enraged by the fact that conservatives recognize the moral inadequacy of the situation, because conservatives are not morally relativistic. No, they support Israel. They believe in God. They know up from down. So when the left sees conservatives, I'm just using conservatives for Republican, substitute any type of political affiliation in there that is not radical leftist, they get infuriated because it's like being called out. It's like people are saying, "Oh, look, the left is inadequate because the conservatives have to align themselves with this girl."
It's harassment if pervasive and severe.
Ms. McGill.
If pervasive and severe. Is genocide not severe? What exactly would be severe for MIT and Harvard?
At Penn, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's rules or code of conduct? Yes or no?
Oh gosh, she voted for Hillary Clinton. Just look at her. Oh my gosh, man. I don't know whether to laugh, cry, or...
If the speech turns into conduct, it can be harassment. Yes.
What type of liberal garbage is this? If genocide turns into harassment, it could be a violation of our policy. Vote for Bernie Sanders. Oh my gosh, dude. What am I listening to?
I am asking...
Moral relativism is not a victimless ideology. I can't even believe that it exists. Obviously, intellectually, it's so untenable. But this is the outcome, guys. This is the outcome of moral relativism. You cannot allow this to happen. This is insane.
Specifically calling for the genocide of Jews, does that constitute bullying or harassment?
If it is directed and severe or pervasive, it is harassment.
Oh my gosh, bro. This is less than a century. This is less than a century after 1943, guys. We didn't even make it a century. We didn't even make it 100 years. That's one lifetime. That we didn't even make it 100 years.
So the answer is yes.
It is a context-dependent decision, Congresswoman.
It's a context-dependent decision. That's your testimony today. Calling for the genocide of Jews is depending upon the context. That is not bullying or harassment. This is the easiest question to answer yes, Ms. McGill. So is your testimony that you will not answer yes?
If it is, if the
Yes.
These people believe they're so much better than you. They believe as neo-Marxists, they believe they're so much better than objective morality that they shouldn't be scrutinized and they shouldn't be held accountable to any type of objective standards, much less the authority matrix that they've encountered. And a lot of individual journalist reporting that we've seen on X as of this morning has indicated that all of them have demonstrated a disrespect and disregard for the entire process that they're being, in their mind, unjustly subjected to. It's they feel under Marxism the need to be oppressed by the process, which ironically is holding them accountable for oppressing others. Marxism is utterly incoherent, and this is despicable. This is despicable.
If the speech becomes conduct,
if the speech calling for genocide, I'm not going to reiterate it.
it can be harassment. Yes.
Conduct meaning committing the act of genocide?
Yeah, exactly. Like what type of statement do you mean?
The speech is not harassment. This is unacceptable.
If speech is to be regulated, if speech is to have rules on campus, which by the way it should, you shouldn't be able to just use slurs and discriminate against people. That is definitely true. And by the way, I'm a free speech absolutist. I think you should be able to have debate and disagree, and I think people should be able to take heinous positions. But you can't harass, you can't prevent people from learning, you can't threaten people. That is against the law. You can't just threaten people. And what type of civilized community calls for the genocide of their peers anyway? I mean, Jesus. But if words are to be scrutinized by policy at all on a campus, it would be for calling for the genocide of people.
Ms. McGill, I'm going to give you one more opportunity for the world to see your answer.
Ooh, that enrages her right there. That enrages her. Being reminded that she's on trial in front of everyone, being scrutinized and judged. That enrages the radical leftist framework. Oh, we're being judged objectively. That is a positive feedback loop of the Marxist resentment. We're being victimized. We're being scrutinized for our moral inadequacy and the fact that we deny objective moral frameworks. Let's quickly feel as though we're the victims and distance ourselves even more from a cogent moral thought process.
Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's code of conduct when it comes to bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
You basically are asking a leftist, what is 2 + 2? And she's saying, I refuse to answer.
It can be harassment.
The answer is yes.
Well, okay, she has to lose her job. Each one of these degenerate women has to lose their job now, or it permanently stains and taints the reputation of these institutions forever.
And Dr. Gay, at Harvard,
Oh gosh, dude.
does calling for the genocide of Jews violate
Okay, Dr. Gay.
Harvard's
Let's hear what Dr. Gay has to say. I have a bad feeling.
rules of bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
It can be, depending on the context.
What's the context?
Targeted as an individual, targeted at an individual.
So, okay. This is where you really see, and you can speculate on what's been going on campuses and how they cope with the fact that they have to act in accordance with objective morality. They don't want to act in accordance with objective morality because they've been infiltrated by the radical left-wing ideology. That's a given, and it's obvious to anyone that's watching. The reason why they're so triggered for a leftist to act this way in front of everyone to demonstrate their narcissism in relationship to accountability, there has to be a strong reason because they don't want to be revealed as the frauds that they are. And right now all of them are revealing themselves as frauds. The reason why they're doing this is because on campus there has been a massive cultural battle, a massive. It's not a debate because a debate implies a war of ideas based on coherence with the truth in mind. What's been going on here instead is one group of people saying this is immoral, reprehensible, and a grave violation of humanity on every level of analysis, and the other side saying, nah, Jews shouldn't exist. And then the faculty is forced to make a decision. And the decision is, we don't want to prove ourselves wrong by saying objective morality is true, and we're going to punish these insane people. And also there is the element on these campuses, which again is of the origin of postmodern neo-Marxist philosophy that is anti-Western. They say that Israel and Jews as affiliated with Israel are participating in colonialism, which is a buzzword they use in the same category of buzzwords as white privilege and toxic masculinity to describe what they only can identify as oppressiveness. Because in postmodern neo-Marxism, competence, individuality, and authority doesn't exist, only power. And so anything that doesn't fit the column of power is labeled oppression and discrimination. Again, in keeping with that morally relativist ethos of we can't say that some cultures are better than others. We can't say that Israel, as a country that is infinitely militarily more powerful than Palestine, only uses its military capability to defend itself against the daily attacks, and we can't condemn the people doing the attacks. The consequences of not being able to think are here. The consequences of not being able to engage in ideas cogently are here. You're seeing it. It has infiltrated the highest institutions of learning. And they are proving it in front of Congress. Incomprehensible.
It's targeted at Jewish students, Jewish individuals. Do you understand your testimony is dehumanizing them? Do you understand that dehumanization is part of anti-Semitism? I will ask you one more time. Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rule?
Elon Musk retweeted this. This is going to get hundreds of millions of views. Hundreds of millions of eyeballs are going to look at you and see you for who you are. And you're going to lose your job because you should. Any type of disgusting, woke garbage has to be kept far away from the brightest light of our future. Elon Musk was right. The woke mind virus is anti-humanity. People that perpetuate moral relativism and postmodern neo-Marxism desire the death of our future, desire the death of Western civilization, the death of moral accountability so that they can dance in the ashes. It's in the name of Marxism. They're nihilistic. In my time at university, every single Marxist I talked to was nihilistic.
And harassment, yes or no?
Anti-Semitic rhetoric. When
And is it anti-Semitic rhetoric?
What type of nonsense is this? Could you imagine if someone was just walking around using slurs against black people at Harvard's campus and said, I'm not directing it at anybody, I'm just spewing slurs? Do you think that would be a defense because it's not directed at anyone? Of course not. This is sophistry. This is intellectual drivel. This is what you're seeing is brokenness. This is just brokenness. A 5-year-old could do better, and this is the leader of Harvard? What?
Anti-Semitic rhetoric, when it crosses into conduct.
I'm going to tell you something. They hire these people on diversity requirements and diversity claims to appease their equity doctrine, which, by the way, is Marxist doctrine. Equality of outcome is reprehensible and Marxist. There's no such thing as equality of outcome, only such thing as equality of opportunity. They try to engineer equality of outcome out of resentment and anger for objective reality that they have. That is the origin of equity. Equity just means equality of outcome, not equality of opportunity.
That amounts to bullying, harassment,
Oh, does genocide not account for bullying? Oh, when someone calls for genocide, we have to think, that doesn't really constitute bullying, right? That's not bullying. Genocide and bullying, I mean, what's really, oh my gosh, we can't think because we read French philosophers. Oh!
Intimidation, that is actionable conduct, and we do take action.
So
No, you don't take action. You don't take action because you're here. If you took action, you wouldn't be in front of Congress. And you just attested a second ago that you don't take action.
the answer is yes.
Oh, it enrages them to be held accountable and scrutinized like this. It enrages them. Guys, call Harvard, call MIT, call Penn. Let them know what you think about their anti-Jewish stances. Not just anti-Jewish, anti-humanity stances, and tell them that there's no, and tell them that you don't tolerate the woke mind virus. Because that's what this is.
That calling for the genocide of Jews violates Harvard Code of Conduct, correct?
Again, it depends on the context.
It does.
Okay. That answer there is GG game over. Look, GG game over. She just said, does calling for the genocide of Jews on Harvard's campus violate your policy? And she said it depends on the context. It's game over there. There's literally no coming back from that. That is literally GG. GG easy. Destroyed. You can't debate that. Like, yes, I am pro genocide. Well, all right. That's the end of the conversation now.
Does not depend on the context. The answer is yes, and this is why you should resign. These are unacceptable answers across the board.
Yeah. Insane. It's insanity, brother. This enrages the
Giving you a
Democrats.
front row seat to democracy.
Shut up. I don't care about your ads on your shitty platform. All right, ready? Let's go.
Thank you so much, Representative Fox and Representative Stefanik, for inviting me here today. My name is Talia Khan. I am an undergraduate alumna
Dude, she's kind of hot, bro. Jewish women, I'm just saying, is it just me? How?
of MIT and a current graduate student at MIT. I am the daughter of a Jewish mother, and I am the proud president of the MIT Israel Alliance. And I am a Jewish student currently.
Hey guys, hey, I can say it. I went to school with a bunch of Jewish girls. And they're all pretty hot, know what I'm saying?
Immersed in an extremely toxic anti-Semitic atmosphere at MIT. The MIT administration, namely President Sally Kornbluth, has failed to address the crisis of rampant anti-Semitism on campus.
And you know what's also crazy is she had to go on, I think, Fox News and CNN weeks ago and talk about this, and action wasn't taken after that got international attention. Imagine that. Imagine getting international attention for not being able to condemn terrorism and then not changing the way you act. What's really standing in their way is they're afraid to take action against these radical leftist organizations inside their institutions that claim counterfeit virtue. Once they get past the claims of those groups' claims of counterfeit virtue where they storm to the offices and bully and harass people and call for the obliteration of Israel under counterfeit virtue leftist morality, that's when they get disbanded and reprimanded and disciplined. But they're not willing to do that. That would violate the radical leftist affiliations.
There is a radical anti-Israel group at MIT called the CAA. In recent weeks, the CAA's anti-Semitic rhetoric has shifted the culture on campus to such an extreme of intolerance that 70% of MIT's Jewish students polled feel forced to hide their identities and perspectives.
Isn't it interesting that these woke parties of virtue and leadership, like the CAA and what's another one? Burned buildings and destroyed cities. Let's say BLM. They all parade under false virtue while literally calling for the destruction and removal of people, things, and institutions. Woke mind virus.
An Israeli student whose identity and personal info was sold online for a bounty has not left his dorm room in weeks out of fear due to death threats. For my part, I was forced to leave my study group for my doctoral exams halfway through the semester because my group members told me that the people at the Nova Music Festival deserved to die because they were partying on stolen land.
Every single one of those people should be expelled from Harvard and have their reputation permanently attainted. Saying that the people at the music festival deserved to die because they were on stolen land is the height. I pray it is the height that we don't see something physically worse. of leftist moral fraudulence. Think about the incoherence and evil of that statement. They call themselves the good guys while saying innocent civilians deserve to die because they were saying on land that the perverse and disgusting ideology of wokeism says this is attributable to colonialism, which is just a stand-in term for objective moral accountability.
After a postdoc at MIT said that Jewish Israelis want to enslave the world in a global apartheid system, he falsely claimed that Israel harvests Palestinian organs and implied that the quote...
They're inverting morality here, guys. Or, excuse me, they're inverting reality. They're inverting truth.
Quote, average Israeli is a Nazi. The DEI...
See, another inversion of reality. The average Israeli is a Nazi. You couldn't get more of an inversion of truth than that, given what happened in 1943, where Nazis literally targeted Jewish people as their primary victim.
Officer of his department replied by telling us that nothing he said was hate speech and that the organ harvesting conspiracy theory was, quote, confirmed. Day after day, the MIT administration has failed to enforce its own rules on anti-Semitic actors, such as the interfaith chaplain intimidating Jewish students, DEI
interfaith chaplain, you already know that that's a diversity hire.
Staff publicly declaring that Israel has no right to exist.
Listen, people may not realize this if you weren't in these environments, but every single ultra-elite leftist environment, which is most of them, has diversity hires.
Faculty dismissing student concerns for their safety by telling them that if they are scared, they should just go back to Israel. CAA protesters
Whoa. Despicable.
Blocking the hallways, storming the offices of the MIT Israel internship offices, and harassing the staff and faculty there, and inviting dangerous outsiders to campus to join them in yelling hateful and violent chants. This is the same climate of anti-Semitism that has led to massacres of Jews throughout the centuries. This is not just harassment. This is our lives on the line. The MIT administration has punted disciplinary processes to a faculty committee on discipline, which has thus far not received a single one of our complaints.
Typical. Rejected responsibility and given the responsibility to a woke board that hates objective moral accountability.
MIT admin has even failed to staff a new task force against hate, which will dually combat anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. This atmosphere is intolerable. Jewish students do not believe that the MIT administration has done an adequate job to make students feel...
Understand what this is about. This is broader than even an attack on Jewish people. This is about a war over the existence of objective morality. Conservatives and free thinkers, when you're watching this, understand it is your moral duty against the woke mind virus to oppose these insane lunatics. This is not just about Jewish people. I'm not Jewish, but I instantly recognized what this is about when I saw leftists marching in New York chanting death to the Jews. I'm like, oh, I know what that is. Woke mind virus. They hate objective morality. They hate the fact that people are pointing out that this attack against Israel, this attack against Jewish civilians, is clearly the work of evil. That's why you must oppose this.
Feel safe on campus. President Kornbluth, please let me go back to being a scientist. Let me go back to being a student. I don't want to have to keep advocating for Jewish student safety on campus. It's not my job. It's your job.
Damn, I relate to that actually. This was, fighting the woke mind virus is a necessity for the future of civilization, but it wasn't what I would be doing if this war didn't exist. I originally planned on being an astrophysicist or, a scientist, maybe go into finance if I was feeling adventurous like that, but this fight presented itself as necessary.
Job. Please do your job and act now. And if you can't, I'm asking Congress to do it for you. Thank you.
Should we watch this, should we watch the full testimony here? It's 3.5 hours. You know what, guys? If you guys like this video, comment down below if I should analyze this full testimony, and if you want me to, I will. I will analyze the full 3.5 hours, but that won't be in this video. That will be in the next one. Tell me if that's something you want me to do. Okay, guys, subscribe to the channel to help combat these woke lunatics. We have to stand up for morality. We have to stand up for sense-making, oppose these deranged, insane people at all costs.